that up in whatever filter you've got selected, gives it a much better color quality under this light
Yes.
than
without the filter.
than with no filter, I would assume.
Right.
Do you know if that keeps the original or?
Well, that's what I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether you can go.
If it doesn't, you're better off doing it after.
Yeah,
the fact.
it's better to do it after the
Yeah,
fact.
because then you have unmodified original. You could do anything.
Yeah, I
to
did
it.
not explore whether you can go back to the
only
original.
exception would be if you need it really fast or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine.
Black and white.
And some people like those filters anyway. They're going to go into the app and change to the filter
Yeah.
anyway, so they do it up front.
Okay,
Right.
let's go right
It
here.
depends on what you're, why you're taking a picture, I guess.
It's not, but let's see, edit, revert. Revert to original.
Did it revert?
It reverted.
Oh, good.
I used the filter. I took a black and white.
Oh,
I didn't even go to photos. I just went to the little photo on the bottom.
great. Well, there's the
and then said revert, and it gave me
Yeah.
color.
so that's the closest thing to RAW that Apple has on their devices. Larry talked about RAW photos, and RAW photos are great, except they do take a lot of memory. I mean, you can take an 8 GB file, and it's 40 gigs in RAW. One thing that he showed the tungsten effect, and that is a neat thing with RAW, is if you do take photos and you've taken RAW photos and they're indoor, and the photo has been affected by either fluorescent light or tungsten light. With RAW, you can change those lighting conditions and correct the photo, which if you take it default, then you have to manipulate the colors yourself to get, like blue. You saw it was blue tinged. But you'd have to try to manipulate that photo with color options to get rid of the blue tinge. So that is what's nice about RAW, but it does take a lot of room. It's going to use a lot of cloud. It's going to use a lot of storage wherever you are.
I don't want to make you sing soprano.
And let's see. Oh, are we trying to broadcast too?
We are streaming on YouTube.
We are streaming.
The sound is good for you, Roy, and maybe the way Dale's repositioning the camera will be able to pick up other people talking also.
Okay.
How's this look?
And
Swing the so I can see your screen.
once upon a time, I talked about an app months ago,
Okay.
and I'm trying to see if I see it. I don't see it right away. But it was an app that was going to deliver free photos to you with ads on the back. That app seems to have died. He went through many iterations and seems to have died.
I've used
There.
free prints.
Well, that's what I was just going to get to. There is a new app called Free Prints. And Free Prints is trying to promote you upgrading the free print, but it's kind of the catch where when you order something, the shipping and handling gets you. That's the price. That's the real price of where the money is. It's not what they're delivering to you. It's how much they make on shipping and delivery.
You mean the in-app purchases?
So, well, like the free app, the free photo app, you can get 10 photos at a time.
Shipping and handling.
Shipping and handling is $1.99. So you're paying 20 cents a photo in essence. And if you get 11 photos, now it's gone up to $2.99 to some range. I don't know what the range is.
I assume when you say on the back, you mean on prints.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about a new app that's called Free.
Yeah, but I mean the one that had
Oh.
ads on the back.
Yeah.
That,
That
was
was
on
his-
the back of a print.
That was that was his
there's
marketing.
No such thing really in a
Paste them into a scrapbook.
digital.
Yeah, that's what he was
Yeah.
thinking was going to be the thing is he could put advertising on and sell the advertising. But I guess he didn't get enough takers.
Well, if you just frame it or put it in an album like
Yeah,
you
an
said,
album.
you got. No
Well,
one's
yeah, it,
gonna
did,
see-
it didn't matter to the end, but it mattered
But
to him. That
People still see it.
you
when
still,
they-
yeah, you still see
but-
magazine ads
so,
and things.
you
So.
know.
But that didn't work. But the free print thing does work. But the other thing that happens also is you got to take a square photo. They do give you some cropping. I think it's a 4:6, even though he talks a square, and I don't understand that. But there's the upgrades. Okay, now get a 5:7 or get this, get a 6, and each one of them adds on additional prices. I should have brought the photos. I forgot to do that. But
iPhone camera has the standard camera has a square format.
yes,
Which I guess was designed for
yes, for Instagram,
is
it's
it
square.
Instagram.
It's for
right?
Instagram,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was designed to be used with Instagram,
Yeah.
but of course you could use it with anything.
With this thing too.
Yeah.
And when you got your photos, I selected my 10, and by the time I got to 10 to order, he has another option that he didn't allow you to do individually, but I could either get them glossy or matte. But it was at the end, all 10 would be one way or the other. And I did do a second order. The first time you go to it, they'll send you the free. You get 10 free. They hook you.
It seems
Hook
like
you
they're
on
still trying to work out a model.
Yeah, and they were borderless. And the other one that was the free one that I had before, when he sent them whatever size the photo was, and they had borders, and I didn't know how much borders make a lot of difference. I mean, they really made the pictures look a lot better. And his aren't borderless, or his are borderless, and the matte didn't look that much better. But it's worth trying. I mean, it's still basically free prints or 20 cents a print, which isn't
And
bad.
there's another one. I think the name is Free Albums.
Yeah,
Where
he has another
same,
one.
Same deal.
Same
where
deal.
It's free,
Album.
but
Yeah.
not if you want it not if you want to get it. You have to.
I suppose if it were borderless, you could always frame it with a mat,
Oh, yeah.
or put it in an album with a mat or something around it to kind of provide a sort of an artificial border,
Right.
or a look that looked, added that white margin there.
Photo books. That's the one I've got. Photo books.
Photo books?
for the free
Okay.
albums.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say make
Yeah.
it look like $1 million, but
so you might want to check that out if you want to try to print some and you don't want to have to take something to Costco or Walmart or whatever, because they'll print them too, and I think they cost a little bit more than 20 cents a thing. So it's not a bad deal. What is
Costco.
Costco? Yeah. Do you have? Is it? How many? What's the minimum you can bring to them, or do they?
They'll do one.
They'll do one.
They'll do one. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I sent a lot of clients there after I edited their photos.
yeah.
You know, hands down, I'm not shopping it around because
the
I'm
link?
gonna print.
The
You know,
link.
It's on the
that's,
YouTube
that's it.
page.
Yeah. So that's a good play. Costco's good.
My wife uses Shutterfly, and that is very much
Oh,
not free
Yeah.
because she can pay $80 or $100 for a pretty gorgeous looking album. And I just wonder if you have experience with any of those.
I've gotten free things from Shutterfly. I mean, free someplace, just offered a book.
Yeah.
And they've been pretty good. I made a calendar once, and I think I got one for a book. And I haven't done a book, but I know friends that have done
Mhm.
books. And the books, when you go, that's another thing. When you go on a trip or something, it's nice. Some people do collect their photos into a book like that.
And they've been in business a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still around.
Yeah,
they
Shutterfly's
have
been around a
by
long
now.
time.
It has been quite a while. I bet it's been 10, maybe 15.
But it is pretty
Yeah,
costly. And
I-
the other thing is still on those free offers where I've gotten the free book or something, it's still shipping and handling. But I'm not a big fan of shipping and handling. A business, as far as I'm concerned, I'm big for VAT and eliminating shipping and handling. Just show me the price. And if the price sounds good, I'll buy it.
You'd rather they keep that as part of the price?
I'd rather they hide
He
it.
wants to hide it.
I'd like it hidden. Because the minute I see it, I'm buying a $1.99 item and then it's $2.40 shipping.
That's
Well,
still-
wait a minute.
That's still a good price. Just think of how expensive it is to ground ship UPS
Right.
4-day delivery.
And it's amazing.
But it's a little like a
No,
lost
you
leader
don't
where
know
they're
that
trying to
because
hook
you
you in
don't
by a
buy
low
it.
price when that's not the
When it's
actual
not a low
price.
price. Exactly.
Lost leader
That's
thing.
what I feel. I'm being usually priced in there, victimized by
But
it.
still, if it comes to your door, it beats a trip to Costco.
Yep.
The crowds in the parking lot and elsewhere.
And the,
If you're not otherwise going.
And the membership fee for Costco is how much again?
Ooh, it went up, but
Yeah, you got to
No,
consider
actually,
that too.
well,
If you don't already have
Oh,
one.
yeah.
You can get different levels, like 25.
yeah.
Well, you can also get add-on memberships. A friend of mine has a Costco membership, and I'm on Friends and Family,
Oh,
so I'm paying whatever the increment is for one more member.
ah,
Yeah, but he's paying more for his family thing, and then you kind of add on to it.
We gotta pay a portion of his too then.
No, he's not. He's not billing me the fixed cost. He's
No,
just
but he should, equitably.
don't spoil it.
People then can do it any which way they want, right?
Briefly, I mentioned the fact of curating your photos to Amazon or curating them to Google, curating them to Dropbox. And the key thing on all of those, Dropbox, if you do that, it just puts it in your Dropbox folder, which you've already got for free or paid. So eventually that could fill. But it is a place to have your secondary backup when you're on a trip. I've used it when we travel.
Yeah, because it will take whatever's in your camera
Whatever's
roll.
in your
which
camera.
Everything you take goes in your camera roll from the iPhone or iPad camera app.
Yep.
Then you just have to
Automatically, and
remember to disable that when you're done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
then
gotta disable it.
Dropbox, if you leave the default setting, automatically uploads that
Right.
camera roll.
So,
So it serves as a sort of cloud backup.
Yeah.
But
There
only
was a time when
only for your
Dropbox wanted to encourage people to do it, and they upped your aliquot if you did it.
Oh,
But once that went away,
yeah.
it's good for temporary things like you described,
Yeah,
right?
you come back from your trip and you've got your that's another backup, and you just
Yeah.
back up all those photos to a
Mhm.
folder,
Right.
and they're all your raw pictures basically because you haven't edited those. And the other thing with Google and Amazon is just you want to pursue as much information as you can as what they do with your photos. I mean, and whether you pay more, because I don't know the ins and outs of it, but as I think you said, or somebody said, when you load up to Google, the photos that you get are semi-compressed. They're not your full photo, but you can pay more and have your full photo stored. And I think Google can kind of use those photos where they want to. I'm not sure whether you're releasing them or
Yeah,
not.
there's
So
some
No,
privacy
so
things
there's
there.
privacy things you have to be.
we're not releasing them, but if it's in a public thing, anybody can.
Yeah, but I don't think it's in a totally public thing. But I think
Google changed their policy. What was it in the beginning with Serge and the other guy? It was don't be bad or
Don't be evil.
don't be
Don't be-
evil.
don't be
yeah,
evil.
don't be evil.
Don't
And then
be
they got
evil.
rid of that.
Or don't-
And getting rid of that gave me cause for concern.
Yeah, so does that,
Because they're
does
evil
that
now.
imply that they've now become
Yeah.
evil?
Well, sometimes I wonder.
I know, me too.
There's also a newer thing called Ever that lets you really load your. Now I would keep this backed up at second place because we don't know if they're going to be around for long. But Ever actually lets you upload your photos at full size without charging you anything. But their big deal is they'll let you put up videos and
wow.
they'll let you put up commercial videos for your own library, and that you have to pay like $75 a year. That's where they really want the money. But you can put up full photos, but it's not as robust as it's kind of hard to find stuff when you put it up there because it doesn't really tag and stuff, But it's a new thing,
Yeah. Always be cautious of new
Any
things.
company that has good privacy backing, if they go bankrupt, all the privacy is out the window.
Exactly.
It's whatever the people are going to pay to.
Get the stuff back.
Yeah, there's been I've seen so many companies, change their policies when things were free or you could do this or and then they
Well,
suddenly
Most of the policies are meaningless because the last sentence is, and by the way, we reserve the right to change this whenever we want to, so come back frequently
Yep.
and see what we've changed, and continuing to use it means acceptance of the new policy.
And see what we've changed means read the whole 20 pages in fine print.
right.
It's not in English.
Exactly.
It's written in legalese.
Legalese, yes.
You don't speak Estonian?
Here's how I have my
I could speak
Dropbox,
Estonian better than I could speak
camera roll settings
They
or
don't even
camera
highlight what
settings.
the
Ah.
pages are.
Yeah.
I have everything
Then
got away from me. Camera uploads there.
Uh-huh.
I have everything turned on except
Upload videos.
background uploading and use cellular data for video.
Yep.
Even though we have basically an unlimited cell plan, but I don't shoot many videos, so it doesn't really.
And the background uploading is nice when you're traveling in Europe or something and you get a
Yeah, but-
hotel where it has Wi-Fi, so all your photos get backed up
Yeah.
while you sleep. Even if it's a weak connection, hopefully most of them will get
Because they give
uploaded.
you a little box about that big.
Are there any questions that you might have forgot to ask, or about curating? I know it was really kind of quick and confusing, and we couldn't demo it, so we'll have to do that at another meeting if we kind of show the steps of curating. But it's really a lot of your own choice.
When do you get the time to do it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Well, that's the very reason why all of the moments and albums and stuff exists.
exists. Yeah,
Because people generally don't do it, so
Yes.
Apple's trying to nudge people along.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the ability to, to click something and have a slideshow run of a place you just visited is pretty cool.
it's so nice. Yeah, the moments thing that Apple generates is
I
really
was
nice.
tempted to ask Larry how he knew that he had 18,000 photos plus in that
Yeah, he didn't
collection.
count it by hand.
Because the computer said so, which
Yeah.
I'm sure it did, or because he said, "Here I have 18,000 photos. One,
Well, the Apple showed me. I don't know. Like I said, 6,000. I didn't think I had 6,000 on the laptop. I got to make sure where it's storing those. Yes.
A couple years ago, I really started to I got really into metadata, and I really started tagging all my stuff and adding all those keywords, and it has made such a huge. Even all my stock photography that I've been collecting for like a couple decades, it has made my life so much better.
Right.
To take the time
Yes.
And what I do is I actually spend a certain amount of hours every week, and that's what I do. That's just what I do, and it has paid off immensely. Because the same thing, it's like, oh, what the hell am I going to do this? You know? But it has made such a difference.
So in other words, it's self-discipline. You might.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then when you have the reward where you can find that image without, because either way it's time. It's like, let's say I have a picture of a little kid shooting marbles, and I need that. If I can find it because I've tagged it from something I took 20 years ago, versus spending 5 hours in a stock house where I'm spending a whole bunch of money buying a whole bunch of pictures. I won't tag, so I won't be able to find them. You know, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing you ought to be telling our whole group when they get into this kind of stuff, I do an awful lot of pictures and lots of them. I've got 34,000 on my phone alone. Is the first thing you do is you got to get a lot of random access memory on the computer. I've gone to a standard 32 gigabytes or more on any computer, so you can handle these things, so you can spin through them real fast. Otherwise, it'll be so cumbersome, nobody wants to use it.
Yeah, that's
You can't do it on 8 gigabytes or something like that.
right.
And then terabytes of
It also doesn't hurt to go out and buy yourself a Drobo RAID unit
yeah.
too, for extra storage.
Yeah, secondary drives.
What?
But the physical memory on the thing is, what's going to
A Drobo, it's a brand
Can
of
you say
RAID storage, external
Drobo.
hard drive, a big external hard drive.
D-R-O-B-O.
D-R-O-B-O? What's a Drobo?
That's a brand name for storage.
Brand name for an external. It's not just external hard drive, it's an external hard drive on steroids, because you can add on
I need to
easily.
get another system. I've
Yeah,
got a
it
bleeding
is
There are
Drobo.
other brands, but that's the one that I think.
Yeah, the hard drive dies, you still got all your data.
Yeah, I have a friend who has really, it's a professional level Nikon camera, even though he's not a pro photographer. He was once, put it on for a while, but he got himself a Drobo unit, and all his pictures go into this thing, and that's his archive and backup. And he has other backups too, like Time Machine, but he also,
There's so many backups that you can do.
Can Drobo handle SSDs now?
I don't know.
What was the question?
Can Drobo handle SSDs, solid state drives,
I would think so.
instead of
Well,
mechanical hard drives?
that's a good question. The ones I've seen so far, and I haven't checked their site, they take standard rotating hard drives and they go on a carrier, which comes
Right,
with the
it's
drive.
like a big bay. And
The drive, you get a bare drive like you would get to add on and put inside your computer, add in actually, or to put inside an enclosure to make an regular external drive out. Instead, you take this and you put it in this slim little mechanical carrier, and then it plugs into an open bay or opening in this Drobo unit, and they come in different sizes. I think they start at 4 bays, and you get one or two drives with it.
It's a RAID storage. It's
Right,
your ability
and
to do
now
that.
the question
My question is
whether
can
you
it
can
handle
put
the
in-
new style fast SSDs?
So
don't know.
ultimately I don't know, but if the SSD was in a form factor like a conventional drive or could be put into that, then you probably could, but I don't know. But
Yeah, they do have, I've been looking at Drobos for some time now. And
you do video stuff, so.
And other than the bottom of the line, you can put a the MSATA little strip SSD.
Mhm.
They have a port in the bottom of the machine.
eSATA.
eSATA. No.
There's SATA and eSATA.
It's some kind of SATA.
Yeah.
SATA is the internal, eSATA is the external version.
Either way, you're saying.
Either
that-
way, well, they make
So
provision
there's
for
provision
putting
for that.
several hundred gigabytes of fast storage to then makes the whole unit into like a hybrid RAID,
Mhm.
Like a fusion drive. So
like a fusion drive.
my question though would be, if you're doing it right, if you have an SSD or a drive that's made up of partial SSD and partial, where that SSD needs to be properly managed for best results. You know, they do this thing called wear leveling and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Because the cells, the individual memory cells, wear out faster than on a conventional drive, so they move stuff around or they write it to different places to even out the wear and tear on this
Right.
silicon or semiconductor device. But that's done either in software in the computer or in firmware in the drive itself, but it has to be done somewhere or in some combination. And Apple, with their SSDs and their Fusion drives, which have SSDs, has designed the total system such that that basically happens. Now, I don't know where it happens, but I know that it does.
Right.
Wow.
But if you do something on your own, you gotta be careful. You might not be getting the longevity out of that SSD that you were expecting.
You gotta remember with the Apple Fusion drives, you've got a separate spinning hard drive and a separate
Solid state.
solid state, internal solid state drive.
Right.
So that it's the operating system that's doing the magic and putting them together.
Yeah, I think it mostly happens in the Mac OS, not.
Oh, yeah, it's
not
all
in
in
the
the
drive,
OS.
in the Apple case at least. Now,
Yeah.
in other third party, maybe not, but.
Yeah, and now Apple has updated the fact that you don't have the option to check your drives any longer, because they're doing that internally and marking, like you said, marking bad parts and bad sectors, and all behind the scenes. Not, I guess there's some way you can tell, but you don't have the option anymore to say, check my drive.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Could I ask you a
less-
quick
Yeah.
iPhone question?
Okay.
It's not really it's, do you use control panel a lot? And what things have you, now that we can customize the control panel on the phone, have you put in there to have, quicker access to things?
That's the thing, you swipe up from the bottom to get.
The
Yeah.
one thing that I started doing
That's this.
that really has helped is that one of the things you can add is actually a shortcut to notes.
Oh,
Huh.
if you use
No, I don't think I have that.
Yeah, we don't have a way of showing it, but see this thing?
Oh, yeah.
So I hit that,
And
and it opens a new note.
new note, that's a nice feature, yes.
So it's the quickest.
But there's another way of doing it quickly too. In your dock in the bottom, I have 3 apps in one folder. That one folder has notes and a couple other things that I like to get to quickly. So I still have that ability.
So with
That's one way
maybe
to
one
do it, too.
extra tap, you can get right there.
Yeah, so there is my folder
Well,
from the bottom, and the very first one on the upper left is notes.
Of course, the other thing is, what some people do is launch all their apps with Siri. Because that's pretty fast
If
too.
there's some places you don't want to do that.
Let's try that. Hey Siri, open notes.
But, in the control thing, I added the voice recorder down there.
Why don't you ask Siri who will win the Super Bowl? That's what everybody's asking Alexa nowadays.
Yeah, I was going to show you that and one of the things in the settings is you can add and take out what you want in the control thing. So it's got all, like there's notes, yeah, with plus signs
I
there.
mean, I have it, but I didn't.
If you want to add other controls there, but that is kind of nice to add a note.
The alarms to go directly to my set.
And also, I don't know whether people have noticed that one of the additional features they added on notes is you can lock a note at the top
To
of the
pin it
list,
to the
so
top.
it doesn't just drop down historically.
Yeah, that's a useful thing too.
Yeah, I find
that
useful.
would be
You can
useful.
reorder them here.
How do you
can
do that?
reorder them on your watch.
How do you lock a note?
Good question.
Yes.
Knowing you can do it and knowing how you
I
do it
think it's
is,
the plus at the bottom.
let's see.
No, that's, no,
It's not on mine.
that's the apps
If
themselves.
I'm in a note,
Well,
oh.
The,
that's really controlling what
no,
is around
okay,
it.
this thing on the watch,
Take a note, photo, no.
Can I reorder?
Scan, cancel, that's not it.
I don't think I can.
I'm not sure how you do it.
Ah, I see. I don't think so.
I know you can password protect a note also, but,
Are you under settings? How are you doing this?
I'm trying to do it within notes.
Within notes?
Yeah.
So click on notes,
Yeah,
and up comes folders.
let's see.
The bottom, touch it, it's, do you want?
Oh, lock note, it's the box with the arrow, up arrow. It's got something that's lock note. Oh, that's locking note, that's not, I don't think that's the same thing. Find in notes, grids, It's showing a lot of options. See, lock note. Ah, lock note is going to do
Oh,
it.
you go
That-
to-
that's a password.
You go to settings, probably.
No, you shouldn't
Notes
have to.
under
A well-placed
settings.
folder gives you all sorts of
Da, da, da,
opportunities.
da. Anybody know? Well,
Quickly.
so much for a good idea that you can put it there. Just
Lock
don't,
screen and control center, save photos and videos taken in notes to the Photos app.
no, this is locking a note at the top of your list.
I may not be able to, because I've got.
Yeah, it
an
also
I
depends on
have
the
an
version.
SE.
Locking a note at the top, how do you do that? Lock one at the top.
We're trying to figure, oh,
In notes.
Yeah, but if you have a note from 2 years ago, but you'd like it be near the top, there's an easy way to do that. Go to the note, make a change to it, add a space at the end of a sentence, make any change,
Make any
and it
change.
immediately goes to the top.
yes.
The same thing happens in Google Photos, because it does the same thing, it follows them by date, when you have your
By
album.
date of last
If you want your,
modification.
an album to move to the front, put a new picture in there and it'll go right to the top.
Okay, notes, just put a space after a period.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
And it does, it's the same idea, the
And
most
that's a
recent stuff is what they
modification,
think
so
you
it
care
goes to
about.
the top.
Yeah.
It's a swipe,
It
Roy,
took me-
try this.
I
Oh,
didn't say
swipe.
how long it
In the
took me to
list of
remember
note
that.
titles,
Yeah, but then it
swipe
becomes
so
on
obvious.
the, on the listed
Makes
item,
sense.
and that's what does it.
In the summer.
Yes, you swipe, yeah, there's,
Right.
it creates the pin.
Yeah.
So you just take any note and swipe it and it'll lock it into the position that it's in. So,
So I want it as the 32nd position, it'll stay in the.
I don't know whether it'll stay in the 37th position. I think it's to lock it at the top.
Right.
So oh, there's a lock there, there's a,
Then
Well,
oh,
the lock is setting a password.
I
Then
don't want,
do you
but I don't
get
want.
just the one pin, or can you?
You can
have
pin as
more
many
than
as you
one?
want.
As many as you want.
Yeah.
But I gotta put a password.
But
No,
of
No,
course,
you don't have to.
You swipe to the right
I swipe
to set the
to
pin.
the,
Swipe to the left to put the lock.
A second, whoops.
Wait a second.
Swipe it to the right.
And it's also got an option to put it in folders now too. You can put your notes in the
Oh,
folders.
okay, the pin keeps it in,
Yeah, here.
okay, I got it, it's pinned.
I think you swipe it to the left.
No, swipe the other way. Yes.
Swipe it to the right.
To
Swipe it.
accomplish what?
To
Pin.
to pin it to the position it's in.
Oh, yeah, the pin, that's
Ah,
it.
I see.
There, I didn't know that, that's worth the price of admission.
And then you'll see it puts a little, it puts a bar, it puts a little gray line of those that are pinned.
Okay, I got some other things I wanna pin this.
And to unpin, you do the opposite.
I wanna pin
It's
this.
got a line through it.
I wanna pin
Yeah, so that's kind of a neat feature. But yeah, the question was asked a long time ago about how do I handle all this from a trip, and it's been overwhelming with the number of trips we've taken. But like I was, wasn't going through the proper steps that I take too much in my talk, but basically as soon as I get home, I collect all those photos. Like I said, I put them in a folder external. I get them out of my iCloud photos collection. Well, I don't get them out of it, but I put them in another folder.
In an album or something?
Well, in a folder.
Mm-hmm.
I just export the photos from the trip. I try not to even modify them, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the first cut. It's like you get the negatives back from having them developed.
Mhm.
So they've been developed. I put them in a folder. Yep.
The first day I go on a trip, I make a folder for every single day, and where I hope to be, what the date is, and so on. It cuts down your organization tremendously.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
It works good.
Thank you.
And then the
Who'd-
next step, where as I was mentioning with the secondary libraries, for trips, I know, get back from a trip and I've got like 3,500 pictures or 3,700 pictures. I say, nobody wants to see these.
Right.
A
Not most
third
of
of them are probably bad. Another 25% of those I won't remember what they were.
The others
But-
may be technically perfect, but they're not
Yeah.
interesting.
So the next thing I do is I create that option secondary library, and then I create the library saying this is this trip, and I take the folder and I move in all those photos. All you have to do is drag. You can just drag the folder actually over to photos in that new library, and then it'll load them. And now they're there. But they're still in my iCloud library, but they're also in this new library. And that library is the one I'm going to really work with, that secondary library. Once they're there, if I feel comfortable with all my backups of where all these other photos have gone, remotes and everything, I can go back to my iCloud synced library and I can trim that down. I can just, say these are the key photos I want to show people. These are the ones I want, and I want to get them off my phone. By eliminating them from my that cloud library. Now it's freed up
the space.
and I still know I've got everything in that one other library where I can always go back, and then I got to find the time to go into that library.
But at least it's relatively
and work on the
safe.
trip.
It can be backed up by Time Machine
Right.
and other methods.
Right. So I can always go back to it. And then I noticed when we were doing a lot of trips, it used to be a lot of work after trip, manipulating them, cropping them, narrowing them. And now I just got all these libraries, and I have to find the time to get to the libraries to
So that's actually
do it.
the second thing you do when you get back. The first thing is you get all the sand out of your shoes.
And then there's another question to ask. This is the terrible question to have to ask. Who cares? Ultimately, who cares about seeing those photos?
Well, maybe this feeds into the whole legacy thing that
Yes.
Norman was raising.
You think about that more often,
Photos, I gotta get into people because people are dying on me and they haven't seen my photos.
Yeah.
It's really sad,
So, but once they're in the photos, I can trim them down. I can share some libraries and get them on the synced one, and it's clean. Whenever I want to work on the refining them, and then you do the reverse procedure. Once you refine them in that one folder, is again create an album of ones you want to share or whatever. Export those, bring those back into your other one.
I've learned one thing is that pictures with people in the picture tend to be more interesting than pictures with no people in the picture in general.
And if you can't have people, put flowers. I do the Google shoots, and with the virtual tours, you're not supposed to have any people. If you do, you blur out their faces, which I find very creepy. So I try to use no people, even back of heads I'll do, But I always try to get flowers and put them in the shot, because otherwise it is so dead looking.
I was thinking of people you know, family members, not just total strangers. But you're right.
Google doesn't want people you know either.
It's sometimes hard to avoid getting strangers.
Oh, and here's another follow-up on albums, which we were talking about deleting photos. I just did it on this one album that I created. Apple's kind of augmented what they were doing, because I selected some photos from this album, and it's given me the option now. I can hide the two photos, I can remove them from the album, or I can delete the two photos. So now it's given you the option without leaving, that album. And I'm not sure what it'll do. I'd have to play more of what it would do if they're in other albums, whether it says, hey, you're using that in another album.
If you have everything backed up, which people should be doing anyway, and you've saved all your originals somewhere, you could just as well delete them as hide them.
And again, when you say delete, it has recently deleted anyway. So if you panic and look in another folder and say, oh, it deleted it there too.
You get a second chance for 30 days or some period of time. Yeah.
So you've always got your options there, but I see they changed the options, gave you a little more latitude in a folder to do your deleting from the folder, which
that's helpful.
Is helpful because when you have them in an album and have them in one place, and you start manipulating them in the album, now you still got to go back to your cloud photos and pick them out and get rid of them from there because you've got them dual. And this gives you the option of really doing it from your album that you've done, so that's good. And I've looked at I recommend you go home and look at creating smart albums. You would be very amazed at what the options it lets you do to create a smart album, because it's got a topic, it's got a conditional, and it's got other options based on the option you do, so that you've got photo, but you can create smart albums based on album, capture date added, description, file name, keyword, person, photo itself, text, title, and now you could even do it down by aperture that the camera used, camera model, flash, photo length, ISO, lens, and shutter speed, which would be really interesting.
Mother's maiden name.
And then once you select those,
question: can you apply multiple?
Yes, you can. You can add plus.
That means if you you're looking for a specific photo, you took, you've got it in there somewhere out of these 18,000 or whatever, and whatever you can't remember exactly when or where
There
you
must be
took it.
something you remember.
But you can remember some things about it, like, well, I know I took it with this camera or that device.
Yes.
That narrows it down.
So-
I know it was in this range of dates.
There was a
That
pink
narrows
flower
it
in the
down.
background.
You know, in
You know.
Photos is recently trying to go the direction that Google has been for some time, allowing you to do searches for cats and
Yes.
animals and boats and
Yeah, like
you know,
dogs.
houses and things.
Dogs.
So, is that something that, I know you can do a search for those things, but can you set up a smart folder for all pictures of dogs to go into the folder?
I bet you could. If it knows dogs, like
Well,
was
well,
it, Larry said.
Google Albums it does that. It is doing automatic grouping like that.
It doesn't have photo is, and then you can't put a word in there.
Mhm.
So, but you can find a photo that is a favorite, hidden, edited movie. Edited is a name, you know, this photo is an edited photo. So, and it doesn't have a negative either. Well, we know it does have an is not.
Not
Yeah.
edited.
So you can find all your photos. Somebody was asking about, you know, I wanted to put keywords on or whatever, and here you can find photos that you hadn't edited, which would be kind of interesting. It's even got RAW. It's got RAW. It's got HDR photos you can find, slow-mos, time lapses, portraits, referenced, tagged with
If you were
GPS.
looking for one photo,
I know.
being able to narrow it down by all these different criteria would really help, you know.
And now here's an interesting one. Photo is unable to upload to iCloud photo library. So that's when you've imported from a camera, and for some reason, maybe it's a RAW or whatever, too large.
Can you do these searches immediately when they're on the Mac, or it takes a little while for it to digest them before it?
Well, I think I think it all depends.
Depends on
Processor
the
and
Mac.
yeah, depends on your Mac.
Well, that would be the speed that would.
But they do give you a lot of options. So look at that. I myself haven't used Smart Albums, and I basically just looked at it myself and realized.
You think you're gonna use it?
I think if I want to narrow down some or have some fun finding.
Okay,
strange-
but that's for album. I can see using it for a search, but do you really want to create albums with all those different characteristics?
The only way I've created Smart Albums is basically dates. You know, a date range.
Dates, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which may be corresponded to a certain trip or something.
Yeah.
And,
Start and end of the
and
trip.
keywords are nice too. So.
Uh,
But yeah,
I can see doing searches on keywords. Yeah, I want everything with a yellow flower in it. Yeah, or whatever. But to store things in albums, even though it does it automatically for you. Yeah, I mean, we've had it in mail for a long time. Smart folders. You know, any mail from this particular person goes in that folder,
Right.
and that can have some value, especially in a business environment. I just can't see that I wanted to automatically store things where the aperture was 2.8.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
It
yeah.
just didn't do it.
That
I'll
is-
do it for you.
Like I said, that's a very
Remember, engineers are doing this. No.
you know, photo
I
geeks.
think
Look what we can do.
You've got a
It
point
doesn't
there.
cost Apple any extra to put this in.
Photo geeks might be really interested, but yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I'd
I
like
can
to.
see something, you know, F16 for depth of field. Give me pictures with great depth of field.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't.
And I was kind of explaining about sorting, and what happens on sorting is if you select all your photos and you say you want to view them sorted, and you go to sort option, it has grayed out. It has grayed out, gives you no sort options on your entire photo collection, and the only thing it has grayed out is keep them sorted by the oldest first. And I think that's something you can change in preferences, but that's the only option they give you, and it's grayed out. And the only way you can actually do a sort is by going to an album. And what's interesting in an album is when you go to that and you select sort. There we go. You collect sort. That it didn't allow it. Couldn't do it on a shared one. Okay. Go to this one. There we go. Okay, if you go to an album that you've created, now you can sort them, but only by 3 options. Keep them sorted by title, keep them sorted by oldest first, and keep them sorted by newest first.
As the Mac guy, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that there's a lot of metadata you can sort on in Spotlight, some of which
yeah.
probably isn't in the Photos app on either the Mac or the mobile
Will
device.
Spotlight show me every photo that's f1.8?
Well, no.
No, it won't do that kind of
But-
thing, but if you have keywords and descriptions and stuff, that's how I can find my stuff so
So,
fast in Spotlight.
The thing you have
It's
to
different.
get to it, one way is to go to the
I-
Finder.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
looking for
that's
both.
where I've been spending about 5 hours a
Right.
week. I schedule that, and that's,
Yeah,
and it
you
has
go to
been
the,
about
go to the
7
Finder
Figure
and
out how valuable it
do
was.
File
I
and then
found
find.
out within
And you'll
2
get a
weeks
box
because I had
with
to
some
find a
search
specific
stuff.
photo
And
for a
then
very
if you
troublesome
type or
client, and
click
it
on
took
that first
like 8 hours
thing
to find a picture for
that
and these
says
are non-jumbo
search by
hours.
kind, last
So
open day,
find
created
it.
date.
Troublesome.
Down at the bottom it says
Label
other.
clients troublesome, so you can
If
sort
we
of-
bring that up,
They pay on
look at the
time.
big long list of
They
metadata you
well-
could search
Yeah.
on. It just goes on and on. And some of this is photo related, you can tell just by reading it. Others don't necessarily like you or know them.
Guess which ones to get rid of?
But, you know, and then the other thing I have to add, I have to hasten to add that be careful because people, if you're in the Finder messing around or mucking around with your iPhoto library of photos, you're liable to damage something.
Right.
But it's okay to find it that way, and then once you know something like the name of it,
Do you
go
realize
back
what's
into
going on
the
here
app.
is Spotlight can do all these things and iOS can do it better.
I don't know if iOS can do it better.
iOS does it better?
It can do it, but.
Well, hey, it's neat technology, yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it is.
Yes, it
And
is.
then when you get iOS and all the other shit doesn't work, hell with it.
And they keep updating.
Sure enough. So, should we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think we can pretty much wrap it up.
You know, I'm hitting mine, and it works.
And we,
For a while.
you know, talk about having a follow-up sometime to show more about editing. Because yeah, the editing just, again, where do you get the time to go through and edit all, you know, all the options that Apple has given you are amazing in photo manipulation.
You know, we'll be back actually probably in the other room for the February meeting. Would you want to do a mobile SIG afterward on editing?
I don't know, it wouldn't be a mobile SIG, so it'd be something we'd have to do editing. Because I find editing, well, it could be editing on an device. I don't usually edit on my iPad.
Or would you want to
But-
do it for the February AL SIG? Because I haven't
Lightning.
locked that in yet.
I don't,
A variety of other devices.
Like, oh, 30 can connect
we could.
right there.
Can you transfer data?
Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Is
More
the
superpower.
February meeting in
But
this
still.
room, do we know,
It's a 6 without.
I think
without
Larry's
battery
gonna
yet.
bounce us back to the other room,
it's gonna be in the normal?
in the enterprise.
Okay.
But I think he's first gonna check to be sure that
It's
they haven't
available.
updated
This is a
enterprise
six.
with this new setup.
6, I don't know.
That room
Well,
works better.
no, I'm already in
That
line.
room works better for a lot of reasons. You have better
I'll
phone
pay the
service than
29
anything.
For 29, I'd like to take my
Well,
old
this room's
5S and
new.
get it.
It's 6 or 1, half dozen of the
I
other.
have a
I
variety
just
of
wanted to vote.
devices.
But Larry told me
Not
a
all
couple
having the
months
same
ago.
connector.
Actually, there's a lot, yeah.
He doesn't
And this solves the
have
problem.
priority bookings for within the university.
It's also available in monochrome.
Enterprise.
In monochrome.
For those who
It's a
are.
power box.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
one
that's
that's a
always
little
been
like
nice.
that, but just.
These two are the same.
Okay.
Okay,
The rest
All right,
are all
thanks,
different.
Roy.
we're good.
Different.
72 years old.
Good, good show, good
Oh, okay,
presentation.
the mini USB or nano.
And thanks for
Yeah,
a
one for
couple
source and one for-
people watching on YouTube.
And thanks for everybody's feedback and additional comments. That's always helpful.